How do we get trauma? Trauma can come in a lot of different forms. If you guys have a pen and a pencil, I think this is a good time to take some notes. But this is your frontal lobe, and behind that is your limbic system. And your limbic system basically is kind of like the librarian of your body. It holds all the information that happens throughout the day. And from 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. is your defrag time in your body, where basically your brain will dump any information that's just unnecessary, you know, because we're taking in information all the time. Right now we're taking in maybe the noises in the back of the animals, the temperature, movement, you know, north, south, east, and west. We're taking in breathing. Our body is functioning to do all of its work at the same time. There are so many factors that are going on. I'm talking to you, I'm thinking about what I'm going to say, I'm thinking about what happened to me in the past. You know, we can be multitasking, especially if you're a woman. No offense to guys, but women's brains are just different, and we can be doing 95 things at the same time, and guys are just a little bit like one, maybe two things at a time. But trauma, this is your frontal lobe. Your librarian or your limbic system or your seat of emotions is right behind your frontal lobe. And so when you sleep from 3 to 5, that's your defrag time. This lady, I think, it's hard for me to read this, Rashimi, she says that she wakes up at 3 a.m. Sometimes that's a spiritual thing, but it's really important to be sleeping from 3 to 5 a.m. because if you don't, then you don't dump all that stuff and you can hang on to it. But basically the frontal lobe, the librarian takes that information from 3 to 5, dumps it, and it decides what can be dumped and what can't. And some things will stick, and some things maybe will shelf, and some things will go away. What I have learned in my studies is there's different reasons why things will stay. If you have some sort of trauma-related thing that has to do with an authoritative figure, then there's a little bit more stick to it. Maybe it won't process. What happens if it doesn't process is basically the librarian says, hey, you know, she can't process this right now, so we're going to put this in a body part and we're just going to hold it there until she's ready. And so when it goes there, it could sit there dormant for 5 minutes, 10 years, 20 years. But what will happen is you'll start seeing symptoms in that area. And a lot of times we go to the doctor, and the doctor will just treat it with drugs or numb it or give you pain medicine instead of going, oh, here's a message, there's something going on. Let's get to the root issue. Let's deal with the trauma that's related to this. And so we have to kind of change our perception that God has given us signals through our body, that messages to say, hey, let's figure out what this is about and let's move forward to get this defrag and process out. If you don't process it out, then what happens is it can get bigger and bigger and bigger until the message is so big, and sometimes it's too late because you've already gone. And so I am a very, very firm believer of prayer and miracles and all those things, but I also believe that you can have a million prophetic words and all kinds of things spoken over you and all kinds of dreams and visions and things that you know you're supposed to do in your life, but if you're sick and you're not feeling well and you have dis-ease in your body and you're in bed, you're not going to do the very best for him. You're not going to represent well. You're not going to finish well. You're not going to be able to touch people and reach people the way God really wants us to. And so this has been the heart and passion for me, is to get people to really understand the things that we can do to help get these things processed and to get trauma processed, because this is all kingdom stuff. Another reason why things may stick, not just if it's an authoritative figure, but if it's something that happens over and over and over again, or if it's something, so that would be number 2, like anything repetitive. Number 3 could be anything that it's so sudden that you didn't have a chance to like catch up. Or it could be a number 4, it could be if you're too young to really be able to process it. Like some people have had trauma at an early age and it's just hard to understand. And so they have to kind of shelf it. And so all of those things, and of course you can have combinations of those things. So you can have something sudden by an authoritative figure that's really consistent and happening over and over, and you're really young. Of course, those things, if the more things that are connected, the more of the 4 or 5 things that we listed, the more stick that it's going to have. And so when he tested me, he actually found 29 different traumas in my body. He's got machines from Russia, China, Germany, you know, all over. Plus he does muscle testing and laser stuff and breathing machines and oxygen. And I mean, he's just very cutting edge doctor. When he found 29 traumas, he told me a couple different ways, and I'm going to explain one tonight, but there's a couple different ways that we can actually get trauma to leave our body past the defrag time. And one of them had to do with essential oils. He explained to me that when you smell a true essential oil, now it has to be a real Young Living oil, or a real, it doesn't have to be Young Living, but a real oil that is 100% real essential oil. And I say Young Living because I've tested 23 different companies. I've only found 2 companies in the world so far that are actually 100% real. Now, let me just go off here for just 1 second. When you have a bottle that says 100% on the bottle, that does not mean that 100% of this bottle contains this oil. Like, this is lavender, and on the bottle it says 100% lavender. So some companies, they actually have 100% lavender on in the label, which is good, but the FDA requirements are that if you have 3% lavender in the bottle, that you can label the bottle 100% lavender. Because the trick is, they're not saying this bottle contains 100% lavender. They're saying that the 3 drops, or the 3% that's in the bottle, is 100% lavender. And